Donovan Pierce stood on the driveway of a mansion that did not feel like home anymore. His leather jacket was soaked so badly that it clung to his shoulders like a second skin, water rolled down his face and mixed with the quiet pain in his eyes. His hands were clenched, but not because he wanted to fight, they were clenched because he was trying not to break in front of them. Not in front of the woman he married, not in front of the family that had been calling him useless since the day they realized he was not the kind of man who bragged. Behind him the massive front door was still open. Warm light spilled out from the chandelier like a spotlight, and inside that doorway stood the entire Carter family like they were watching a comedy show. His wife Renee stood in the center like a queen surrounded by her court. Her mother was pointing and laughing so hard she had to hold her stomach. Her father leaned on the doorframe with that smug grin that always said he believed he owned the world. Her brother and cousins were standing behind them smiling like hyenas, and in that moment Donovan realized something sharp and unforgettable. They did not just want him gone, they wanted him to feel small while leaving, and the craziest part was that the people laughing behind the glass door had no idea they were laughing at the man who was about to save their entire empire with $700 million. Renee's voice cut through the rain like a knife. Donovan, you are not coming back in this house. Not tonight and not ever again. You are a dirty, poor, useless man, and I am tired of pretending you are something you are not. The words hit him harder than the cold rain. Because they were not said in anger. They were said like a final decision. Like she had rehearsed them. Like she had been waiting for a crowd. Donovan looked at her and his eyes held a calm that made her smile falter for just a second. Not because he was afraid. But because he looked like a man who had already moved on in his head. And that scared people who thought they had power. He spoke quietly, but his voice carried. Renee, I have never asked you for much. I have never embarrassed you. I have never raised my voice at you. So tell me what this is really about. Her mother stepped forward before Renee could answer. What it is about is that you are a nobody. You came into this family with your quiet little job and your cheap shoes. And you have been living under this roof like you belong here. But you do not belong here. Her father chuckled and added. A man who cannot provide does not deserve a seat at our table. And you have been sitting at our table too long. Donovan stared at them and his jaw tightened. He remembered the first day he came to this house. He remembered how he was nervous. How he brought flowers. How he tried to impress them. And how they looked at him like he was a stain on Renee's dress. Back then he thought he could win them over with patience. He thought love was enough. He thought hard work would speak louder than their judgment. But some people do not listen to effort. They only listen to money. And the irony was so heavy that it almost made him laugh. Because money was the one thing Donovan had in a way they could never imagine. Renee crossed her arms and tilted her head like she was looking at a stranger. You want the truth, Donovan? Fine. I am tired of being married to a man who is always quiet and always acting like he is better than everybody. You walk around like you are the only one with morals. You act like you are too good for my family. But the reality is you are just broke. Donovan blinked slowly. Broke. That word hung in the air like smoke. Renee continued, and her voice got louder because she liked the attention. My friends ask me what you do and I never know what to say. Because you never tell anyone anything. You never post anything. You never show anything. You do not even drive a nice car. You have been using that same black sedan for years like you are proud of being average. Her cousin laughed and shouted from behind. He is the kind of man who thinks being humble is a personality. More laughter. More pointing. More faces enjoying the humiliation like it was dessert. Donovan looked down at the wet driveway and took a slow breath. The rain ran off his chin and onto the stone. And in his head he heard the voice of his late grandmother. Never argue with people who love to misunderstand you. Just let success introduce you properly. Donovan lifted his eyes back to Renee. You are kicking me out into the rain. In front of your whole family. And you think this makes you strong. Renee stepped forward and her heels clicked on the marble floor inside. It makes me free. Because I finally realized I married beneath me. That was the sentence that did it. Not because it hurt the most, but because it revealed the kind of woman she truly was. A woman who measured love by status. A woman who believed marriage was a trophy. A woman who wanted a husband she could show off like a designer bag. Donovan nodded slowly. Okay. That one word made the laughter reduce for a second. Because people expected begging. They expected shouting. They expected a breakdown. But Donovan gave them calm. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. The screen was wet but still lit. He had missed calls. He had messages. And the top notification made his chest tighten. Confidential. Ravenwood Capital final approval. $700 million investment ready for signature. The name Ravenwood Capital was not just any name. It was the firm the Carter family had been chasing for months. The firm they believed was their only chance to keep their empire alive. Because the Carter family business was collapsing quietly. Their luxury real estate company was drowning in debt. Their bank loans were overdue. Their investors were pulling out. And their reputation was cracking behind the scenes. The Carter family still lived in this mansion. Still hosted parties. Still wore designer clothes. Still smiled like they were untouchable. But the truth was they were one bad week away from losing everything. And the one investor they were praying for, the one billionaire who could save them, was standing in the rain with his wife calling him useless. Donovan locked his phone and slid it back into his pocket. He looked at Renee again. I hope you remember this night. Renee laughed. Oh, I will remember it. I will remember the night I finally kicked out a man who was dragging me down. Her father raised his hand like he was dismissing a servant. Go on then. Go find somewhere to sleep. Maybe a shelter will take you in. More laughter. More cruel laughter. The kind of laughter that was not even funny. Just wicked. Donovan's eyes moved across the faces. He saw Renee's little sister in the back. She was not laughing. She looked uncomfortable. Like she knew this was wrong. And Donovan gave her a small nod. Like he was telling her it was okay. Then he turned away from the house. And the rain swallowed him. He walked down the driveway slowly. Not because he was weak. But because he was controlling the storm inside him. His shoes splashed in puddles. The wind hit his face. The night felt colder than it should. Behind him the doors slammed shut. And the laughter faded. But in his mind it echoed. Donovan reached the edge of the driveway where the gate stood tall and black. He paused under the rain and looked up at the mansion one last time. The lights were bright. The family silhouettes moved behind the glass. And for a second he remembered Renee the way she used to be. The way she smiled when they first met. The way she held his hand. The way she told him she loved how grounded he was. He wondered when it changed. Or maybe it never changed. Maybe she was always like this. And he was just too in love to see it. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a call. Mr. Harold Langston. Chairman. Ravenwood Capital. Donovan answered immediately. Harold. The voice on the other end was calm and respectful. Donovan, my friend, I hope I am not calling too late. But we are ready. The board has approved the full $700 million. All we need is your final confirmation and signature. Donovan stared at the rain falling in front of him like silver lines. And he spoke softly. I will sign. Harold sounded relieved. Wonderful. The Carter Group will be saved. Their empire will survive. And you will be the man behind the miracle. Donovan's eyes narrowed slightly. Yes. I will be the man behind it. Harold paused like he sensed something in Donovan's tone. Is everything all right? Donovan looked back at the mansion again. Everything is perfect. Harold chuckled. You always say that when something big is about to happen. I will have my assistant send the final documents to your private email. And we will schedule the signing tomorrow morning. Donovan ended the call and put the phone away. The rain kept falling. But Donovan did not flinch anymore. Because something inside him had turned cold and focused. He walked out through the gate and onto the street. His black sedan was parked a little distance away. And as he approached it, his headlights flashed on automatically. Like the car recognized him. Like it was waiting. He opened the door and sat inside. The interior was warm. Quiet. Safe. And the moment he closed the door, the outside world became muffled. The rain was now just a sound. Not a punishment. Donovan sat there for a long time without driving. His hands rested on the steering wheel. His eyes stared forward. And in that stillness his mind replayed every insult. Every laugh. Every moment Renee's family treated him like dirt. Then his phone buzzed again. A message this time. From Renee. Don't come back. I already told security you are not allowed on the property. And if you try anything I will call the police. Donovan stared at the message. Then he typed slowly. Donovan. I will not come back. Do not worry. He sent it. Then he started the car. And drove away into the night. Across town in a tall building with glass windows and private security. A penthouse suite waited. Not the kind of place a broke man could afford. But Donovan had not stayed there in months. Because he had been trying to be a husband. Trying to be humble. Trying to live inside Renee's world. Tonight he was done trying. When he arrived, the doorman greeted him with respect. Good evening, Mr. Pierce. Donovan nodded and walked in. The elevator took him up in silence. And when the doors opened, the penthouse lights turned on automatically. Revealing a space so luxurious it looked like a movie set. Marble floors. A panoramic view of the city. A bar stocked with rare bottles. Art on the walls that cost more than most houses. Donovan walked to the window and stared at the city lights. His jacket dripped onto the floor. But he did not care. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring box. The wedding ring he had removed earlier that day after the argument started. He opened the box and stared at the ring. Then he closed it again. His phone buzzed once more. This time it was an email. Final signature documents. Ravenwood Capital. $700 million investment into the Carter Group. Primary investor. Donovan Pierce. Donovan stared at the screen. His name was right there. The name his wife called useless. The name her family laughed at. The name they threw into the rain. Donovan smiled for the first time that night. But it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had reached the edge of patience. And found power waiting on the other side. He whispered to himself. Tomorrow. They will learn. And somewhere across town in that mansion. Renee and her family were still laughing. Still sipping wine. Still feeling victorious. Still thinking they had just removed dead weight. They had no idea the man they kicked out was the billionaire investor they were begging for. And they had no idea the rain they pushed him into was the same rain that would wash their entire empire away. By morning the rain had stopped, but the damage it left behind was not on the streets. It was in the air. It was in Donovan Pierce's chest. It was in the quiet decisions that get made when a man finally stops hoping people will change. The city woke up like nothing happened. Cars moved. Coffee shops opened. People laughed into their phones. But inside a glass boardroom on the 47th floor of Ravenwood Capital, a $700 million decision was waiting for one signature. And that signature belonged to the same man who had been called dirty, poor and useless only hours earlier. Donovan stood in front of his penthouse mirror tying a dark tie with calm hands. He had slept maybe 2 hours. But he did not look tired. He looked sharpened. Like a blade that had been polished by pain. His phone buzzed as he adjusted his cufflinks. A notification from a private news alert system he paid for. Carter Group stock value drops again. Banks pressure for immediate payment. Insiders say company facing collapse. Donovan stared at the headline without emotion. He already knew. He had known for months. That was the whole reason he got involved in the first place. The Carter Group was not just a business. It was a family identity. It was their pride. Their inheritance. Their bragging rights. Their excuse for looking down on other black families in their circle. It was the reason Renee's father walked like a king. And the reason Renee's mother spoke like she owned every room. But behind the scenes the Carter Group was bleeding. Bad deals. Overpriced developments. Loans stacked on loans. And a lifestyle too expensive to maintain. They had built a castle out of reputation. And now the foundation was crumbling. And the only reason it had not already collapsed was because Donovan had been quietly negotiating with Ravenwood Capital through private channels. Not as Renee's husband. Not as a desperate family member. But as Donovan Pierce. The man who owned a private investment firm so discreet that most people did not even know it existed. Donovan Pierce Holdings. He did not build his wealth by posting it. He built it by moving quietly. Buying distressed companies. Turning them around. Selling them at profit. And reinvesting. He made money the way old power makes money. Without noise. Without flexing. Without needing validation. That was why Renee's family thought he was broke. Because he did not perform wealth. He simply had it. Donovan picked up his phone and called his assistant. A sharp woman named Layla who had been with him for years. She answered immediately. "Good morning, Mr. Pierce." Donovan's voice was steady. "Schedule the signing for 9:30. And make sure the Carter Group executives are present. Every last one. I want Renee's father and the board in that room." Layla paused. "Sir. The Carter Group requested the signing remain private. They said they want to protect the investor's identity until the final press release." Donovan's mouth lifted slightly. They want to protect the investor's identity. Interesting. Layla continued carefully. "Also, sir. There is something else. The Carter family has been calling Ravenwood since midnight. They are desperate. They believe the investor might pull out." Donovan stared out the window at the city skyline. "Tell Ravenwood to inform them the investor is still on schedule. But also tell them the investor has one condition. The investor wants to meet the family face to face before signing." Layla inhaled softly. "Face to face. That is not typical for you." Donovan's voice stayed calm. "Today is not a typical day." Layla did not ask questions. She never did. She simply responded. "Understood, Mr. Pierce. I will arrange everything." Donovan ended the call and slipped his phone into his pocket. Then he picked up a black umbrella. Not because it was raining. But because it felt symbolic. Like he was carrying the last piece of last night with him. When he arrived at Ravenwood Capital, the building looked like pure authority. Glass walls. Steel lines. Security that did not smile. And inside a lobby where everything smelled like money. Donovan walked with the kind of calm that made strangers step aside without knowing why. The receptionist stood up immediately. "Good morning, Mr. Pierce. They are ready for you upstairs." Donovan nodded and entered the elevator. The doors closed. And for a moment he was alone. He stared at his reflection in the elevator mirror. A black man in his early 30s. Clean haircut. Strong jaw. Eyes that had seen too much disrespect to ever be naive again. And as the elevator rose he thought about Renee. He thought about the first year of marriage. When she still looked at him with admiration. When she used to tell her friends. My husband is different. He is not flashy. But he is solid. He is real. Then her family started poisoning her. Slowly. Like a drip. They mocked his car. They mocked his clothes. They mocked his quietness. They mocked the fact that he did not beg them for approval. And the more they mocked, the more Renee started feeling embarrassed. Not because Donovan had changed, but because she wanted the kind of man her family could brag about. And now she had chosen humiliation. Chosen cruelty. Chosen public disrespect. And Donovan knew something about choices. Choices always come back with receipts. The elevator opened to the executive floor. And the Ravenwood boardroom was already filled. Harold Langston stood at the head of the table. A white-haired man with a calm smile. The kind of man who had been in finance longer than Donovan had been alive. But he treated Donovan with genuine respect. Because Harold knew who Donovan really was. On the other side of the room sat the Carter Group executives. And the moment Donovan walked in, they all stood up like soldiers. Not because they wanted to, but because power makes people stand. Charles Carter was there. Renee's father. Tall. Gray beard. Expensive suit. Eyes sharp like a man who had spent his life believing he was superior. Beside him sat Nadine Carter. Renee's mother. Perfect makeup. Pearls. A smile that looked polite but felt poisonous. Renee's brother Malcolm was there. He was the CFO of the Carter Group. Young. Arrogant. The kind of man who spoke loudly because he needed people to believe him. And there were 3 other board members. All dressed like they were going to court. The Carter family had no idea who Donovan was. They were expecting an older billionaire. Maybe a foreign investor. Maybe an Arab prince. Maybe a tech mogul. They were expecting someone who looked like money. What they got was Donovan Pierce. The moment Charles Carter's eyes landed on Donovan, the air in the room changed. His face froze. Not because he recognized him as his son-in-law, but because he could not process what he was seeing. Donovan walked calmly toward the table. And Harold Langston smiled warmly. Gentlemen and ladies, allow me to introduce the primary investor. Mr. Donovan Pierce. Silence. The Carter executives stared. Their brains trying to catch up. And then it hit them like a car crash. That was Donovan. Renee's husband. The man they called useless. The man they kicked out into the rain. The man they told to go find a shelter. The man they laughed at like he was nothing. Charles Carter's lips parted slightly. His eyes widened. His body stiffened. And Nadine Carter's hand lifted to her mouth like she could not breathe. Malcolm's face turned pale. Because he remembered every insult he had ever thrown at Donovan. Every time he called him broke. Every time he told Renee she could do better. Every time he laughed when Donovan walked into family gatherings. Donovan sat down calmly in the investor seat. He did not smile. He did not gloat. He simply looked at them like a judge looks at criminals. Harold cleared his throat. We are honored to finalize this partnership today. Mr. Pierce has reviewed the final terms and is ready to sign. Charles Carter's voice finally came out, but it sounded broken. Donovan. Is this some kind of joke? Donovan tilted his head slightly. A joke? No, sir. Last night was the joke. This is business. Nadine Carter leaned forward with shaking hands. Donovan baby. We did not know. You never told us. You never said anything. Donovan looked at her. His eyes cold. You never asked. You never cared. You just assumed. Malcolm's mouth moved but no sound came out. And the board members looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. Charles Carter swallowed hard. Donovan, listen. We had a misunderstanding last night. Emotions were high. People said things they did not mean. Donovan's eyes narrowed. People said exactly what they meant. They just did not think it would cost them anything. Harold Langston sat back and watched. Because he knew something important was happening. This was not just a signing. This was a reckoning. Donovan opened the folder in front of him. The documents were clean. The numbers were perfect. $700 million. Enough to pay off debts. Enough to restart stalled developments. Enough to save the Carter Group. Enough to restore their empire. And Donovan was the one holding the pen. Charles Carter's voice softened. Donovan. Please. We are family. Donovan looked up slowly. Family. You kicked me out into the rain. Called me dirty. Called me poor. Called me useless. And you did it with laughter. You did it with joy. You did it like you were proud of it. So do not use the word family with me now. Nadine's eyes filled with tears. Donovan, please. Renee loves you. She was just angry. Donovan's expression did not change. Renee loves what she thinks she deserves. Not who I am. Harold Langston finally spoke gently. Mr. Pierce. If you would like privacy, we can ask them to step out. Donovan shook his head. No. They will stay. They will watch. Because they watched last night too. Charles Carter's hands trembled on the table. Donovan. What do you want? Donovan leaned forward slightly. I want respect. Not begged. Not forced. Real respect. And I want Renee in this room. Charles Carter's head snapped up. Renee is at home. Donovan's voice stayed calm but sharp. Call her. Now. Malcolm immediately grabbed his phone like a man trying to save his own life. He dialed Renee and put it on speaker. She answered with an irritated tone. What, Malcolm? I am busy. Malcolm's voice cracked. Renee. You need to come to Ravenwood Capital right now. Now. Renee laughed on the phone. Why? Did the investor finally agree to meet us? Did Dad finally convince him? Malcolm swallowed. Renee. Just come. Renee's tone changed slightly. Why do you sound like that? What is going on? Charles Carter grabbed the phone from Malcolm. Renee. Get here immediately. Renee was silent for a second. Daddy, what is happening? Charles Carter's voice broke. Just come. The call ended. In that room the Carter executives sat like statues. They were terrified. Because they knew something bigger than money was about to happen. A humiliation reversal. A public collapse of arrogance. And the worst part. They deserved it. Donovan leaned back in his chair. He looked at Harold Langston. Do we have time? Harold nodded. Of course. We can wait. Donovan folded his hands. Then we wait. 30 minutes passed like torture for the Carter family. Every second felt like a year. Because Donovan was silent. And silence from a man holding $700 million is the loudest sound in the world. Finally the boardroom doors opened. And Renee walked in. She was dressed in a cream blazer and fitted pants. Hair perfect. Makeup flawless. She walked like a woman who still believed she was in control. Until she saw Donovan. Her entire body froze. Her face drained. Her mouth opened slightly. And for the first time in a long time, Renee looked like a woman who had just realized she made the worst mistake of her life. Donovan stared at her. Not angry. Not shouting. Just calm. And calm is what scares people who know they are guilty. Renee's voice came out in a whisper. Donovan. Charles Carter stood up quickly. Baby. We did not know. We did not know he was the investor. Renee's eyes flicked around the room. Then back to Donovan. Investor. What are you talking about? Harold Langston spoke politely. Mrs. Carter. Your husband Mr. Donovan Pierce is the primary investor. He is the one providing the $700 million rescue investment into the Carter Group. Renee's knees almost buckled. She grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. Her lips trembled. And suddenly the memory of last night hit her like lightning. Her voice screaming. Her family laughing. Her calling him dirty, poor, useless. Her kicking him into the rain. Renee swallowed hard. Donovan. I did not know. Donovan tilted his head. No. You did not know. Because you never cared to know. You only cared about appearances. And last night you showed me who you really are. Renee stepped forward slowly. Donovan, please. I was angry. I was frustrated. We have been fighting. My family was pushing me. And I just snapped. Donovan's eyes held her like a spotlight. You did not snap. You performed. Renee's face crumpled. Donovan, I am your wife. Donovan nodded slowly. Yes. You are my wife. And you kicked your husband out into the rain like he was trash. Renee's tears fell. Donovan, please. I am sorry. Donovan leaned forward and picked up the pen. The entire room held its breath. Because they did not know if he was about to sign. Or about to destroy them. Donovan looked at Charles Carter. You asked me what I want. Charles nodded quickly. Yes. Yes. Anything. Donovan's voice was steady. I want the Carter Group. I want controlling interest. I want majority ownership. And I want Renee removed from any position in the company. Effective immediately. The room exploded into gasps. Malcolm shouted. That is insane. Donovan turned his eyes to Malcolm. You called me broke for years. Now you are about to learn what broke really feels like. Charles Carter's face twisted. Donovan. You cannot take our company. This is our family empire. Donovan's voice stayed calm. Your family empire is already dead. I am the only reason it is breathing. So yes. I can take it. Renee sobbed. Donovan, you cannot do this. This is my family. Donovan looked at her. You chose your family last night. Now you can live with that choice. Harold Langston cleared his throat gently. Mr. Pierce. The terms you are requesting are aggressive but possible. We can amend the documents immediately. Donovan nodded. Do it. Charles Carter's face turned red. Donovan. Please. We will apologize. We will fix this. We will do anything. Just do not humiliate us like this. Donovan's eyes sharpened. Humiliate you? No. I am not humiliating you. I am correcting you. Renee's voice cracked. Donovan. If you do this. What will happen to us? Donovan stared at her for a long moment. Then he spoke with a quiet finality. Us. Ended last night in the rain. Silence fell again. But this time it was not shock. It was grief. It was the sound of consequences arriving. Harold's assistant entered with revised documents. Fresh pages. New terms. Donovan's majority ownership. Carter family reduced to minority shareholders. Renee removed from any executive role. And Donovan appointed as interim chairman. Charles Carter's hands shook as he read. This is a takeover. Donovan nodded. Yes. A takeover. And it is the only way your empire survives. Because you have proven you cannot lead with pride. Only with arrogance. Nadine Carter cried quietly. Donovan, please. We raised Renee better than this. Donovan looked at her. No. You raised Renee to worship money. And last night she worshipped it so hard she forgot her husband was a man. Donovan picked up the pen. And with one smooth motion, he signed. The ink touched the paper. And $700 million became real. The Carter Group was saved. But the Carter family lost their throne. Charles Carter stared at the signature like he was watching his own funeral. Renee stared at it like she was watching her life collapse. And Donovan sat back calmly. Like a man who had finally put the world back in its proper order. Harold Langston smiled politely. Congratulations, everyone. This partnership is now official. Donovan stood up. He looked at the Carter family. Then he spoke with quiet authority. I will hold a press conference this afternoon. You will all be there. And you will all smile. Because the world will think this is a miracle. But you will know it is justice. Renee reached for him desperately. Donovan, please. Please talk to me. Donovan stepped back. You wanted me out. You got what you wanted. Then he walked out of the boardroom. Leaving them sitting there in stunned silence. Like a family who just realized they kicked the wrong man into the rain. By afternoon the Carter mansion was quiet in a way it had never been before. Not peaceful. Not calm. Just haunted. Like the walls themselves had overheard too many cruel jokes and now they were holding their breath. Renee sat on the edge of her bed staring at her phone like it was a weapon. Her makeup from the morning was gone. Her hair was tied back. And for the first time since she married Donovan Pierce. She looked like a woman who did not know what to do next. Downstairs her mother paced the living room in circles. Her father sat in his office with his head in his hands. And Malcolm was on the phone calling every contact he had in finance trying to find out if there was any way to reverse what happened. But there was no reversing it. Because the signature was already ink. And in the world of money, ink is stronger than family. Stronger than marriage. Stronger than pride. Renee's phone buzzed. A message from Donovan. Not a long one. Not emotional. Just 2 lines that hit like a hammer. Donovan. Be ready by 5. Press conference at 6. Renee stared at the screen. Her chest tightened. She felt like she could not breathe. Because she knew what a press conference meant. A press conference meant cameras. A press conference meant questions. A press conference meant Donovan standing in public as the hero. And the Carter family standing behind him pretending they were grateful. While privately they were dying inside. And worse than that. A press conference meant the world would see Donovan's face. The face Renee kicked into the rain. The face she mocked. The face she called useless. Now revealed as the billionaire savior. Renee's mother shouted from downstairs. Renee. Come here. Renee walked down slowly. Her legs felt heavy. Her heart felt like it was carrying stones. When she entered the living room her mother grabbed her hands. Baby, listen to me. You need to fix this. You need to apologize to Donovan properly. Not like this morning. Not crying. Not begging. You need to remind him who you are to him. Renee blinked. Mama. I do not even know who I am to him anymore. Her mother's eyes flashed. You are his wife. And you will act like it. Because if Donovan leaves you, do you know what people will say? They will say you lost a billionaire. They will say you were too stupid to recognize gold in your own house. Renee pulled her hands away. So that is what you care about? What people will say? Her mother froze. Then her voice got sharper. Yes. Because reputation is everything. This family has built an image for decades. We cannot let one mistake destroy it. Renee laughed bitterly. One mistake. Mama, that was not a mistake. That was who we are. Her father's voice came from the office doorway. Renee. Enough. We do not have time for guilt. We have time for survival. Renee turned to him. Daddy. How can you even speak like that? We treated him like trash. Charles Carter's face hardened. Because he was a man who did not know how to be humbled. He only knew how to strategize. Donovan Pierce just took control of my company. Do you know what that means? It means we are no longer kings. We are guests in our own empire. Malcolm stormed into the living room. It means he is going to destroy us. He is going to strip us. He is going to embarrass us. Renee's voice cracked. He already did. And we deserved it. Malcolm pointed at her. No. You deserved it. Because you were the one who kicked him out. You were the one who called him useless. You were the one who made it a show. Renee flinched like she had been slapped. And for a second she saw it. She saw the truth. Her family was not angry because they hurt Donovan. They were angry because it backfired. Her mother stepped forward. Renee, stop being dramatic. We need to get through this press conference. Then we will handle Donovan privately. We will remind him of loyalty. We will remind him of marriage. We will remind him that he cannot just take everything. Renee whispered. He can. Because he already did. At exactly 5:30 a black SUV pulled into the driveway. Security stepped out. Professional men in suits. Not the Carter family security. Donovan's security. The front door opened and the head of security spoke politely but firmly. Mrs. Pierce. Mr. Pierce requests you come now. Renee's heart dropped. Even the way he said it felt different. Not Renee. Not ma'am. Mrs. Pierce. Like she was a title, not a person. Renee grabbed her coat and walked outside. Her family followed behind her like they were walking to court. As the SUV drove away, Renee stared out the window at the city. She remembered last night. The rain. The laughter. The moment she slammed the door. She had felt powerful. Now she felt like she was being escorted to her own public execution. The press conference was held at a luxury hotel ballroom downtown. A room full of reporters. Cameras. Flashing lights. Microphones. And a massive banner behind the stage that read. Ravenwood Capital and Donovan Pierce Holdings. New partnership with the Carter Group. $700 million investment. The moment Renee walked into the ballroom, she heard whispers. People recognized her. People recognized the Carter family. And some people already knew the rumor. That the mysterious billionaire investor was Donovan Pierce. The quiet husband. Renee's stomach twisted. Because she could feel the judgment in the air. Not yet spoken. But ready. Donovan stood near the stage talking to Harold Langston. He looked calm. Sharp. Unbothered. He wore a dark suit that fit him perfectly. And his presence in that room felt like gravity. When Renee saw him, she almost forgot how to breathe. Because Donovan did not look like a man who had been kicked out. He looked like a man who had been released. He turned and his eyes met hers. For a second Renee thought she saw pain. But what she saw instead was distance. A clean, cold distance. Donovan walked toward the Carter family. Not rushing. Not angry. Just controlled. Charles Carter forced a smile. Donovan. We are ready. Donovan nodded. Good. Remember. Smile. The word smile sounded like an order. And it was. Because Donovan now had power over them in a way they never expected. The reporters were buzzing. Because they wanted drama. They could smell it. At 6 o'clock Donovan walked onto the stage. Harold followed. And behind them the Carter family lined up. Charles. Nadine. Malcolm. Renee. And 2 board members. The cameras flashed immediately. And Donovan took the microphone. Good evening everyone. Thank you for coming. Today is a historic day for the Carter Group. And for the future of black-owned legacy businesses in America. The reporters leaned in. Donovan continued smoothly. The Carter Group has been a symbol of excellence for decades. But like many great companies they faced challenges. And when challenges come, you either collapse. Or you evolve. Renee's heart pounded. Because Donovan was speaking like a politician. Like a leader. Like a billionaire who belonged on that stage. Donovan turned slightly and gestured toward the Carter family. I am proud to announce that Donovan Pierce Holdings in partnership with Ravenwood Capital has committed a $700 million investment into the Carter Group. To restructure debt. Restart stalled developments. And expand into new markets. The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed harder. Reporters scribbled. Then a reporter raised a hand. Mr. Pierce. Is it true you are married to Renee Carter? The daughter of Charles Carter. Donovan smiled slightly. Yes. Renee Pierce is my wife. The room murmured. Because now the story was even bigger. A billionaire married into the family he just saved. Another reporter shouted. Mr. Pierce. Many people did not know you were this wealthy. Why did you keep it private? Donovan's eyes flicked briefly toward Renee. Then back to the crowd. Because I believe money speaks loud enough without me screaming it. I have always preferred quiet work over loud display. The crowd laughed softly. Renee felt her cheeks burn. Because those words sounded like a gentle insult. Like Donovan was indirectly calling out the Carter family's obsession with image. Then a female reporter asked the question Renee feared. Mr. Pierce. There are rumors that the Carter family did not initially support this partnership. Some say there was conflict at home. Can you address that? The room went silent. Every camera zoomed in. The Carter family stiffened. Renee's throat tightened. Her mother's hand trembled. Charles Carter swallowed hard. Donovan paused. Then he smiled politely. Every family has conflict. But business requires maturity. Today is not about conflict. It is about progress. The reporter pushed. But is it true that you were treated unfairly by the Carter family? Before this investment. Renee's body went cold. Because she knew the answer could destroy them publicly. Donovan's eyes stayed calm. But his voice sharpened slightly. Let me say this. People often judge what they do not understand. And sometimes they learn too late that the person they underestimated was the one holding their future in his hands. A wave of murmurs ran through the room. Because everyone understood what he meant. Even without details. Even without saying it directly. Donovan had just exposed them in the most elegant way possible. Renee felt like she was sinking. Charles Carter leaned toward Donovan and whispered through a smile. Please. Donovan did not look at him. He simply continued speaking to the crowd. I want to thank Ravenwood Capital. And I want to thank the Carter Group Board for recognizing that evolution is necessary. This partnership will create thousands of jobs. And ensure that a legacy remains intact. Applause again. But now the applause felt like knives. Because the Carter family knew the truth behind the smiles. After the press conference the reporters swarmed them. Questions flying. Cameras flashing. People trying to get Renee to speak. Renee forced a smile. She felt like she was wearing a mask glued to her face. A reporter asked her directly. Mrs. Pierce. How does it feel to be married to one of the most powerful investors in the country? Renee's voice came out shaky. It feels wonderful. I am proud of my husband. Donovan stood beside her. His face unreadable. Another reporter asked. Did you always know he was this wealthy? Renee froze. Then she laughed nervously. Donovan has always been a man of surprises. The reporter smirked. That is one way to put it. Renee's mother pulled her away quickly. Enough. No more questions. They escaped into a private hallway. And the moment the doors closed behind them, the Carter family dropped their smiles like heavy bags. Charles Carter turned on Donovan immediately. Donovan. What is your plan? Are you going to destroy us slowly? Donovan looked at him calmly. I am going to rebuild the company. And I am going to remove every weak link. Malcolm snapped. Weak link? You mean us? Donovan's eyes moved to Malcolm. Yes. I mean you. Malcolm stepped forward angrily. You cannot just come in and treat us like employees. This is our family company. Donovan's voice stayed calm. It was. Now it is mine. Malcolm looked like he wanted to swing. But Donovan's security stepped forward instantly. And Malcolm froze. Charles Carter held Malcolm back. Donovan. Please. Let us talk privately. As men. Donovan nodded slightly. We will talk. But not here. And not today. Renee stepped forward with tears in her eyes. Donovan. Can I speak to you alone? Donovan looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. 5 minutes. Renee followed Donovan into a private lounge. The door closed. And suddenly it was just them. For the first time since last night. They were alone. Renee's voice cracked. Donovan. I am sorry. Donovan stared at her. You already said that. Renee cried. I did not mean it. I swear I did not mean it. Donovan's jaw tightened. Renee. You did mean it. Because those words did not come from nowhere. They came from a place inside you that had been growing for a long time. Renee shook her head desperately. No. It was my family. They were always in my ear. They always made me feel like you were not enough. And I started believing it. And I hate myself for it. Donovan's eyes held hers. You did not just believe it. You enjoyed it. Last night you enjoyed humiliating me. Renee flinched. Because that was the truth she did not want to face. Renee whispered. I was angry. I felt powerless. And I wanted to feel in control. Donovan nodded slowly. So you chose to control me. By breaking me. Renee sobbed. Donovan, please. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. We can start over. I will cut off my family. I will do anything. Donovan's expression stayed calm. Renee. You cannot undo a moment like last night. You cannot erase the sound of your laughter. You cannot erase the way you looked at me like I was trash. Renee reached for his hand. Donovan, please. I love you. Donovan pulled his hand back gently. You love what you thought I was. A quiet man you could shape. A man you could keep small. A man you could use as a safe option. But you do not love who I am. Renee whispered. Who are you then? Donovan's eyes hardened. I am the man you married. The man who worked quietly. The man who built something real. The man who wanted peace. And you turned that peace into a stage for your family. Renee's voice broke. So what now? Donovan took a slow breath. Now. I protect myself. Renee stared at him. What does that mean? Donovan spoke with calm finality. It means I am filing for divorce. Renee gasped like the air had been stolen. No. No, Donovan, please. Please do not do that. Donovan looked at her. I am not doing it to punish you. I am doing it because I finally see you clearly. Renee's tears fell faster. Donovan. If you leave me, my family will destroy me. They will blame me. They will say it is my fault. They will turn on me. Donovan's eyes stayed cold. That is the same fear you used to justify destroying me last night. Now you will face it. Renee collapsed into a chair. Her shoulders shaking. And Donovan stood there for a moment watching her. Not with joy. Not with revenge. But with a quiet sadness. Because despite everything, he once loved her. And love does not disappear instantly. It just dies slowly. Donovan turned to leave. Renee whispered behind him. Donovan. Where will I go? Donovan paused at the door. Then he spoke without turning back. Somewhere you cannot hide behind your family's laughter. Then he opened the door and walked out. Renee sat alone in that lounge. And for the first time in her life, she understood what it meant to lose something priceless. Not money. Not status. Not a company. But a good man. And outside in the hallway, the Carter family waited. Hungry for answers. Hungry for control. But Donovan Pierce had already taken control of the only thing that mattered. The future. If the Carter family had known what real fear felt like, they would have recognized it the moment Donovan walked out of that private lounge. Because the way he walked was different now. Not like a husband trying to keep peace. But like an owner stepping away from people who no longer mattered. Renee followed behind him a minute later. Her eyes were swollen. Her face was pale. And her mother instantly knew something terrible had been said. Nadine Carter rushed to her. Renee. What did he say? What did he say to you? Renee could not answer. She just shook her head slowly. Like a woman who had been told her life was over. Charles Carter stepped forward and tried to speak to Donovan. Donovan. We need to talk. Now. Donovan looked at him calmly. You will talk to my legal team. Not to me. Malcolm's face twisted in rage. Legal team. You think you can just throw lawyers at us like we are strangers? Donovan's eyes flicked to Malcolm. You made me a stranger last night. So yes. Then Donovan turned and walked away with his security. Leaving the Carter family standing there in that hallway. In their expensive clothes. In their expensive shoes. Looking powerless for the first time in their lives. On the ride back to the mansion, Renee sat in the back seat silent. Her mother and father sat beside her. Malcolm sat in the front. And the air inside the SUV was heavy like smoke. Nadine finally spoke. Renee. Tell me what Donovan said. Renee whispered. He is filing for divorce. The SUV felt like it stopped moving even though it was still driving. Charles Carter's face turned to stone. Nadine's mouth opened. And Malcolm cursed under his breath. Nadine snapped. Divorce. After everything. After saving us. He is divorcing you. Renee stared out the window. He is not divorcing me after saving you. He is divorcing me because I destroyed him. Charles Carter's voice hardened. No. He is divorcing you because he wants to punish this family. He wants to make an example out of us. Renee turned to him with tears in her eyes. Daddy, stop. Stop pretending this is about business. This is about how we treated him. Charles Carter clenched his jaw. Do you realize what divorce means? It means the world will ask questions. It means people will dig. It means our reputation will bleed. Renee laughed bitterly. Our reputation. That is all you care about. Even now. Malcolm leaned back in his seat. This is bigger than reputation. If Donovan divorces Renee, he will cut the family off completely. And then what? He will run the company without us. He will fire us. He will take everything. Nadine's eyes narrowed. He cannot fire us. This is still our family legacy. Renee whispered. Mama. He owns it now. The SUV pulled into the mansion driveway. The same driveway where Donovan stood in the rain last night. The same stones where Renee's laughter echoed. And as Renee stepped out, she felt like the house itself was judging her. Inside the mansion, the family gathered in the living room. The same room where they had laughed and toasted after kicking Donovan out. Now it felt like a courtroom. No laughter. No wine. Just panic. Charles Carter paced back and forth. We need to fix this. We need to get Donovan back under control. We need to remind him he cannot just take our company and our daughter and walk away. Nadine nodded aggressively. Yes. We will go to him. We will apologize properly. We will bring elders. We will bring pastors. We will bring whoever we need. Renee shook her head. You do not understand. Donovan is not the kind of man you can guilt. He is not the kind of man you can pressure. He is done. Malcolm snapped. Nobody is done when they have that much power. Power makes people arrogant. He will slip. He will make a mistake. And when he does, we will take our company back. Renee stared at Malcolm. You still do not get it. He did not become a billionaire by slipping. Nadine's voice became cold. Then we will use Renee. He loved Renee once. He will not want to destroy her. Renee's stomach twisted. Mama, do not. Do not try to use me like a weapon. Nadine looked at her sharply. You already used him like a weapon last night. Now you will fix it. Charles Carter stopped pacing and looked at Renee. You are going to his penthouse tonight. You are going to cry. You are going to beg. You are going to remind him of vows. You are going to make him soften. And once he softens, we will negotiate. Renee's eyes widened. No. I am not doing that. I already humiliated him enough. Charles Carter's face darkened. Renee. This is not optional. This family is on the edge of collapse. We need you to bring him back. Renee's voice rose. You need me to bring him back. So you can control him again. So you can keep using him. Charles Carter slammed his fist on the table. Enough. You are my daughter. Renee stared at him. And Donovan was my husband. Silence. Then Nadine spoke softly like a snake. Renee. If Donovan divorces you, do you know what you will become? A woman who lost the best man she ever had. And a woman who will be mocked in every circle we enter. They will laugh at you the way we laughed at him. Renee's throat tightened. And she realized her mother was not comforting her. She was threatening her. Renee whispered. I cannot fix this. Malcolm leaned forward. Then you will watch us lose everything. Because Donovan will destroy us. And it will be your fault. Renee flinched. Because guilt was the one chain her family had always used to control her. That night Renee did what she swore she would never do again. She drove to Donovan's penthouse. Not because she wanted to manipulate him. Not because she wanted to save the company. But because she needed to look him in the eyes one more time. To see if there was any part of him still there. Any part of the man she once loved. When she arrived, the building security did not smile at her. They simply checked her name and called upstairs. A moment later they stepped aside. She rode the elevator up alone. Her hands shaking. Her heart pounding. When the doors opened, Donovan's penthouse was dimly lit. Quiet. Cold. Like a place that had been waiting for solitude. Donovan stood by the window with a glass of water in his hand. He did not turn when she entered. He just spoke calmly. "You should not be here." Renee's voice trembled. "I had to come." Donovan turned slowly. His eyes met hers. And Renee felt like she was standing in front of a stranger. Not because he looked different. But because his energy was different. The warmth was gone. The softness was gone. The hope was gone. Renee whispered. "Donovan. Please. I am sorry." Donovan nodded slightly. "I know." Renee's tears fell. "I did not know who you were. I did not know what you carried. I did not know how much you loved me." Donovan's voice stayed calm. "You knew how much I loved you. You just did not respect it." Renee stepped closer. "Donovan. I do not want to lose you." Donovan's jaw tightened. "You already lost me last night." Renee's voice cracked. "Then what do you want me to do? Tell me." "I will do it." Donovan stared at her for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. "I want you to leave." Renee froze. "Leave? Just like that?" Renee whispered. "Donovan, please. Just talk to me. Just give me one chance." Donovan walked toward her slowly. And when he was close enough she could smell his cologne. The same scent she used to bury her face in. He spoke softly but his words were heavy. "Renee. Do you know what it feels like? To stand in the rain while your wife laughs at you? Do you know what it feels like? To have the woman you protect call you useless in front of her family? Do you know what it feels like? To realize the person you would die for would not even defend you?" Renee sobbed. "No. I do not. But I want to understand." Donovan shook his head. "It is too late to understand. Because understanding does not erase damage. It only makes you regret it." Renee dropped to her knees. "Donovan, please. Please do not divorce me." Donovan looked down at her. And for a second Renee thought she saw pain. But Donovan's pain did not soften him. It hardened him. Donovan spoke quietly. "Get up, Renee. Do not do this. I will not be moved by performance anymore." Renee's body trembled. "I am not performing. I am broken." Donovan stared at her. "You were broken long before last night. You just hid it behind pride." Renee whispered. "I love you." Donovan's voice stayed calm. "Love without respect is poison." Renee cried harder. "Then what is going to happen to me?" Donovan took a slow breath. Then he spoke with cold clarity. "You will go back to your family. And you will live with them. And you will learn what it feels like to be surrounded by people who only love what you can provide." Renee looked up at him. And the fear in her eyes was real. Because she knew her family. She knew how quickly they turned. She knew how they treated people when they were no longer useful. Donovan stepped back. "My lawyer will contact you tomorrow. You will receive the divorce papers. And you will also receive a settlement. Because I am not cruel. I am just done." Renee's voice cracked. "Settlement. So you will still take care of me?" Donovan nodded slightly. "Yes. Because I am not your family." That sentence hit Renee like a punch. Because it was true. Donovan was not cruel. Her family was. Renee stood slowly. Her legs weak. her face soaked in tears. She whispered. Donovan. If you ever loved me. Please. Please do not let my family destroy me. Donovan stared at her for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. I will not let them destroy you. But I will not save you from them either. You need to learn. Renee nodded slowly. Then she turned and walked toward the elevator. At the door she paused. Donovan spoke again. Renee. She turned. Donovan's eyes held hers. Last night you called me poor. You called me useless. You called me dirty. Renee swallowed. Donovan continued. But the worst thing you did was not the words. It was the laughter. Renee's lips trembled. And she whispered. I know. Donovan nodded. Good. Because you will hear your own laughter in your head for the rest of your life. And maybe it will teach you something. Renee broke. She covered her mouth. And she ran into the elevator. The doors closed. And Donovan stood alone again. He turned back to the window. And for a moment the city lights reflected in his eyes like stars. But there was no joy in them. Only resolve. The next morning Donovan arrived at the Carter Group headquarters. A massive building downtown with the Carter name carved into stone. A building that once felt like a throne. Now it was his office. Employees whispered as he walked through the lobby. Because news had spread. Donovan Pierce was the investor. Donovan Pierce was the new majority owner. Donovan Pierce was the man who saved the company. And some employees looked proud. Because it was a black man taking control. A black man bringing new life. A black man proving power did not always come from loudness. But upstairs in the executive suite, the Carter family sat waiting. Angry. Nervous. Desperate. Charles Carter stood up when Donovan entered. Donovan. We need to talk. Donovan sat calmly in the chairman's seat. You can talk. But remember. You are in my office now. Charles Carter's face tightened. You cannot keep doing this. You cannot keep humiliating us. Donovan looked at him. You humiliated yourself. I am just making sure you feel it. Malcolm leaned forward. What are you going to do? Fire us. Donovan nodded slightly. Yes. The word hit like a gunshot. Nadine gasped. Donovan, you cannot. This is our company. Donovan's voice stayed calm. No. This is my company. And you are all terminated effective immediately. Charles Carter's face turned red. You cannot do this to us. We are family. Donovan's eyes sharpened. Family. The word again. The word you only remember when you need something. Donovan slid a folder across the desk. Termination packages. Generous. Because I am not petty. But you will not remain in leadership. Not after the way you treated people. Not after the way you ran this company into the ground. Malcolm jumped up. This is insane. This is theft. Donovan's security stepped into the room. And Malcolm froze. Donovan looked at Malcolm. Sit down. Or you will be escorted out like I was escorted out of your house. Malcolm's face twisted. But he sat. Charles Carter's voice cracked. Donovan. Please. Do not do this. I built this company. Donovan nodded. Yes. You built it. And you almost destroyed it. Now I will rebuild it. Nadine cried. What about Renee? What about our daughter? Donovan's face stayed cold. Renee will receive divorce papers today. And she will no longer be part of this company either. Charles Carter looked like he might collapse. Renee. Divorce. Termination. Takeover. All in 1 week. Donovan stood up. This is what happens when you kick the wrong man into the rain. The first time the Carter family truly understood what it meant to lose power was not when Donovan signed the papers. It was not when he fired them from the company. It was not even when he filed for divorce. It was when they woke up on a Monday morning and realized the world no longer feared their last name. Because power is not just money. Power is the way people treat you when you walk into a room. Power is the way doors open before you touch the handle. Power is the way phones get answered on the first ring. Power is the way your enemies pretend to respect you because they know you can destroy them. And now the Carter family had none of that. Donovan Pierce had taken it. Quietly. Legally. Cleanly. And the worst part was that he did not even have to raise his voice to do it. In the days that followed the takeover, the Carter Group transformed faster than anyone expected. Donovan brought in new executives. Young, brilliant black professionals who had been overlooked by the old leadership. He cleaned out the toxic culture. He cut off the waste. He renegotiated contracts. He reopened stalled projects. And within 2 weeks the stock price began to climb. Employees started smiling again. Vendors stopped calling with threats. Banks stopped breathing down their necks. And the company that had been dying under the Carters started thriving under Donovan. The press called it a miracle. A mysterious savior. A quiet billionaire. A husband who rescued his wife's family empire. But Donovan did not correct the story. Not fully. Because the public did not need to know everything. The public only needed the headline. What mattered was what the Carter family knew. They knew the truth. They knew the savior they bragged about on television was the same man they threw into the rain. The same man they mocked. The same man they called useless. And now they were living in the aftermath of their own cruelty. Renee felt that aftermath more than anyone. Because once Donovan filed for divorce, her family turned on her the way wolves turn on the weakest one. At first Nadine tried to comfort her. Tried to pretend she cared. But that care only lasted until the first social gathering. It was a charity gala at a downtown hotel. The kind of event where wealthy black families came to be seen. To network. To show off. To whisper about each other. Renee arrived with her mother and father. And the moment they stepped inside, the whispers started. That is her. That is Renee Pierce. The one who kicked Donovan out. That is the woman who lost a billionaire. That is the woman who did not know her own husband was saving her family. Renee could feel the judgment like heat on her skin. She tried to smile. But her smile kept breaking. Then she saw Donovan across the room. He was standing with the new Carter Group executives. Harold Langston was there. Several investors were there. And even the mayor was there. Donovan looked like he belonged in that room more than anyone else. He was calm. Confident. Respectful. And every person around him leaned in like they wanted his approval. Renee's chest tightened. Because she realized something painful. Donovan had always been that man. She just did not know how to see it. Nadine grabbed Renee's arm. Do not stare. You are going to make us look desperate. Renee whispered. Mama. We are desperate. Nadine's nails dug into her skin. Then act like you are not. As they moved through the crowd, people smiled politely at Charles Carter. But the smiles were different now. They were not afraid smiles. They were pity smiles. And Charles Carter could feel it. He could feel his throne gone. He could feel his reputation bleeding. A woman from another powerful family approached and hugged Nadine. Oh Nadine. I heard everything. It must be so difficult. Losing control of the company like that. Nadine forced a laugh. It is just temporary. Donovan is family. He will come around. The woman smiled with fake sweetness. Of course. Family always comes around. Right, Renee? Renee froze. Because the woman's eyes were sharp. Like she was enjoying this. Renee forced a smile. Yes. But inside she felt like she was dying. A few minutes later Donovan began walking toward the stage for a speech. And the entire room quieted. Because when money speaks, even pride listens. Donovan took the microphone. Good evening everyone. Thank you for being here. He spoke smoothly. He talked about black wealth. Black legacy. The importance of building businesses that last. The importance of humility. The importance of character. And as he spoke Renee felt tears burning behind her eyes. Because every word felt like a lesson. A lesson she failed. Then Donovan said something that made the room hold its breath. I want to say something personal tonight. Because I believe the greatest wealth is not money. It is integrity. Renee's heart pounded. Donovan continued. Some people think power means you can humiliate others. Some people think love means you can disrespect the person who stands beside you. Some people think family means you can treat someone like dirt. And still expect them to save you. The room murmured. Because now everyone knew there was a deeper story. Donovan's eyes moved across the crowd. Then they landed briefly on Renee. Not long. Just enough. Donovan spoke calmly. But life has a way of making people face themselves. And when that moment comes, you either change. Or you lose everything. Renee felt her mother stiffen beside her. She felt her father's jaw tighten. And she felt the crowd's attention shift toward the Carter family like a spotlight. Donovan finished his speech with applause. But the applause felt like thunder. And Renee realized the humiliation was not over. It had just become public in the most elegant way possible. After the gala Renee's family exploded in the car. Charles Carter slammed his fist against the door. He humiliated us. He humiliated us in front of everybody. Nadine shouted. He is enjoying this. He is enjoying making us suffer. Renee whispered. No. He is not enjoying it. He is teaching you what you never learned. Malcolm snapped. Do not defend him. This is your fault. You brought him into our family. You embarrassed us. You made us lose everything. Renee turned to Malcolm with rage in her eyes. I made you lose everything. Or you made yourselves lose everything by treating him like trash. Malcolm leaned forward. You do not get to speak to me like that. You are the reason we are broke now. Renee laughed bitterly. Broke. You are not broke. You are just not in control. And that is what hurts you. Silence fell. Because Renee was finally saying the truth out loud. When they reached the mansion Renee stepped out of the car. And she did not go inside. She stood on the driveway alone. The same driveway where Donovan stood in the rain. And for the first time she understood what he felt. Not the cold rain. But the loneliness. The betrayal. The feeling of being surrounded by people. And still being completely alone. Her phone buzzed. A message from Donovan's lawyer. Divorce proceedings. Settlement offer attached. Renee opened it with shaking hands. The settlement was generous. More money than she ever imagined. A private property in a safe neighborhood. A monthly stipend for 3 years. And a clause that Donovan would cover her therapy expenses. If she chose to attend. Renee stared at the document. And she started crying. Because Donovan was still being kind. Even after she was cruel. And that kindness hurt more than anger. Because anger would have allowed her to hate him. Kindness forced her to face herself. The next day the Carter family held an emergency meeting in the mansion. But it was not a business meeting. It was a survival meeting. Charles sat at the head of the table like a man trying to reclaim authority. Nadine sat beside him with bitterness in her eyes. Malcolm sat with his arms crossed. And Renee sat silently. Charles spoke. "We are going to fight Donovan. We are going to sue. We are going to expose him. We are going to destroy him." Renee's head lifted. "Daddy. Stop." Charles snapped. "Stop. Stop what?" "He stole our company." Renee's voice was steady. "He did not steal anything. You begged for his money. You signed the terms. You did not even read the fine print because you were desperate. And you kicked him out into the rain before you even knew his name in the business world." Nadine's eyes flashed. "Renee, do not talk to your father like that." Renee stood up. "No. I am done. I am done being your puppet. I am done being your weapon. I am done letting you poison my marriage. And then blaming me when the poison killed it." Malcolm scoffed. "Look at you. Trying to be brave now. After you lost everything." Renee's eyes sharpened. "I did not lose everything. I lost Donovan. And that is the only thing that mattered." Silence. Because that sentence hit differently. Even Nadine looked shaken for a second. Renee continued. "You taught me to worship money. You taught me to judge people by cars and clothes. You taught me to laugh at humility. And now I have learned the hardest lesson of my life. Because the man I laughed at was the man who loved me the most." Charles Carter's voice cracked. "So what are you saying?" Renee took a slow breath. "I am saying I am leaving this house." Nadine gasped. "Leaving? Where will you go?" Renee held up the settlement papers. "Donovan gave me a place. A place away from you." Nadine's face twisted. "So he is still controlling you?" Renee shook her head. "No. He is freeing me." Charles Carter stood up angrily. "Renee, you cannot leave. You are our daughter." Renee stared at him. "And Donovan was my husband. And you helped me destroy him. So yes. I can leave." Renee walked out of the mansion that day with one suitcase. Not because she was running away. But because she was finally choosing to grow. Weeks passed. The Carter family tried to fight Donovan in court. But every lawyer they hired told them the same thing. The contracts were airtight. The takeover was legal. And Donovan had done nothing wrong. The Carter family's power continued to fade. Their friends stopped calling. Their invites stopped coming. And slowly the mansion that once felt like a palace began to feel like a prison. Meanwhile, Donovan's name rose higher. Business magazines featured him. Black Wealth podcasts begged him for interviews. Young entrepreneurs called him an inspiration. And employees at the Carter Group called him the best leader they had ever had. But Donovan did not celebrate loudly. He did not throw parties. He did not post photos. He did not flex. He simply worked. And one evening months later, Donovan stood on the balcony of his penthouse looking out at the city. The same city that once watched him get kicked into the rain. Now watching him rise. Layla stepped out onto the balcony. "Mr. Pierce. The Carter Group quarterly report is in. Profits are up. Debt is down. Investors are celebrating." Donovan nodded. "Good." Layla hesitated. "Sir. There is something else. Mrs. Pierce. Renee. She requested a meeting. She says she wants to apologize properly. Not to fix the marriage. Just to give you peace." Donovan stared at the city lights for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. "Let her come." 2 days later Renee arrived at Donovan's penthouse. But she was not the same woman. Her clothes were simple. Her eyes were softer. Her posture was humble. And she looked like someone who had been through fire and survived. Donovan opened the door himself. He did not smile. But he did not look cold either. Renee stepped inside. And she did not rush. She did not beg. She did not perform. She simply stood in front of him. And she spoke softly. Donovan. I came to tell you something. Not because I expect anything. Not because I deserve anything. But because you deserve to hear it. Donovan stared at her. Go on. Renee swallowed. Last night in the rain. I thought I was powerful. I thought humiliating you made me strong. But I was weak. I was broken. And I was cruel. Renee's eyes filled with tears. I did not respect you. I did not protect you. I did not defend you. And I laughed. She shook her head slowly. And I will never forgive myself for that. Donovan's jaw tightened. Renee continued. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. And I treated you like the worst thing. She wiped her tears. I do not want you back. Because I know I do not deserve you. But I want you to know that the woman who laughed at you died that night. And the woman standing in front of you now will spend the rest of her life becoming better. Donovan stared at her for a long moment. And for the first time since everything happened, his eyes softened slightly. He spoke quietly. Thank you. Renee nodded. That is all I wanted to say. She turned to leave. But Donovan spoke again. Renee. She turned back. Donovan's voice was calm. Do not go back to them. Renee whispered. I will not. Donovan nodded. Good. Because the rain is not the only thing that can drown you. Renee smiled sadly. Then she walked out. Donovan closed the door. And he stood there alone. Not happy. Not angry. Just at peace. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is not destroying people. It is becoming the man they never deserved. And somewhere in that mansion, the Carter family sat surrounded by luxury. But starving for power. Still bitter. Still blaming. Still refusing to change. They had kicked a billionaire into the rain. And in return, he saved their empire. Then took it. Then taught them the lesson of their lives. And the final truth was simple. They did not lose because Donovan was cruel. They lost because they were.